Welcome to Black Screen Stories and Parables by Queen's Intuition. Tonight we have a story. It's called The Teddy Story, originally shared by Dr. Dyer, also called the Teddy Stoddard Story. Let us begin. There was a story many years ago, an elementary teacher. Her name was Mrs. Thompson, and she stood in front of her 5th grade class on the very first day of school, and she began to tell these children a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her students and she said, "I love you all. I love you all the same." But this was impossible because there on the front row, slumped in his seat, was a little boy named Teddy Stoddard. Miss Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed he didn't play well with the other children, and his clothes were messy, and he constantly needed a bath. Teddy could be unpleasant. He smelled awful. It got to a point where Miss Thompson would actually take delight in marking his papers with a big, huge, broad red pen, making big, bold X's, and putting big, fat F's all over it at the top of his papers. He put no effort into this. At the school where Miss Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past records, and she put Teddy off until the very last minute. Obviously, he was not worth it. However, she had to review his file, and when she reviewed his file, she was in for quite a surprise. Teddy's first grade teacher wrote, "Teddy's a bright child. He has ready eyes and laughs. He does his work so neatly. He has great manners. And he's such a joy to be around." The second grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he seems troubled because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home must be a struggle." His third grade teacher wrote, "Teddy's mother's death has been very hard on him. He tries to do his best. His father no longer shows interest in the child. His home life will be affecting him, and it is affecting him. Some steps must be taken on his behalf." His fourth grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is withdrawn. He doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends. And sometimes he's fallen asleep during class." By now, Miss Thompson realized the problem, and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy's. His present was clumsily wrapped in a heavy brown paper bag he got from the grocery store. It had no ties or ribbons. Miss Thompson took pains opening it in the middle of the other presents. The other children started to laugh. When she opened it, she found a rhinestone bracelet with some stones were even missing, and a bottle of perfume that was only a quarter full. But she stifled the children's laughter when she exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful bracelet I've ever seen!" As she dabbed the perfume on her wrist. "Oh, it smells luxurious." Teddy Stoddard stayed after school that day long enough to say, "Miss Thompson, today you smell like my mom used to. Thank you." After the child left, she cried, she wept for at least an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching and reading and writing and arithmetic. Instead, she began to teach her children. Miss Thompson paid a particular attention to Teddy. As she worked with him, his mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class. And despite her lie that she would love all the children the same, Teddy became her favorite. He was the teacher's pet. A year later, she found a note underneath her door. It was from Teddy, telling her that he was still the best student ever because she was the best teacher ever he had in his whole life. 6 years later, and she got another note from Teddy. And then he wrote, I finished high school. I'm third in my class. And she's still the best teacher he's ever met in his whole life. 4 years went past, and she got another letter saying while things have been tough at times, Teddy has continued to stay in school. He's stuck with it, and he's soon going to graduate from college with the highest of honors. And he assured Miss Thompson once more, she's still the best and his favorite teacher he had in his whole life. 4 more years went by, and another letter came from Teddy. This time he explained he got his bachelor's degree and he decided he wanted to continue his education. The letter explained she was still his favorite and best teacher he ever had, but now his name was a little bit longer. This letter was signed Theodore Stoddard, M.D. Our story is not over yet. You see, there's yet another letter that came that spring. Teddy said he met this girl and he was going to get married. He explained his father had died a few years back and he was wondering if Mrs. Thompson might agree to sit in place at the wedding, usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Would she please? Well, of course Miss Thompson did. And guess what? She still wore that bracelet. The one with the several rhinestones missing now. She made sure she dabbed that perfume that Teddy remembered his mother was wearing the last Christmas that they shared together. As they hugged each other, Dr. Stoddard whispered in Miss Thompson's ear, Thank you. Thank you so much for believing in me. Thank you so much for making me feel important again. And thank you so much for allowing me to make a difference as you made a difference to me. Miss Thompson, with tears in her eyes, whispered back, Teddy, you have it all wrong. You taught me I could make a difference. I never even knew how to be a teacher until I met you. The moral of this story is if you judge only by appearances, you will continue to be enslaved by the evidence of your very senses. It's a quote by Neville Goddard. Always look within and beyond. All right, guys. Talk to you later.